Speaking of being in leadership to lead, unless you're living under a rock, you would have heard that President Donald J. Trump has announced a sweeping 25% tariff on all aluminium and steel coming into the United States of America. Here's his rationale.
Any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff.
What about aluminum?
U.S. Steel was one of our great companies, and through a lot of stupidity and bad government and also bad management of the company, it lost that luster. But it's going to gain it back, and tariffs are going to help. Tariffs are going to make it very successful again.
Now, of course, this is a big deal here in Australia because we sell hundreds of millions of dollars of both steel and aluminium to the States every single year. But don't worry, everybody. Albanese's got a call scheduled with Trump and he's going to get it sorted.
I have a discussion with President Trump scheduled, and I will certainly keep the House and the Australian people informed after that discussion.
Compelling and rich, my confidence is shot through the roof. But really, I'm not worried about this because Trump announced similar during his first term, and in 2018, Australia was like, yeah, but not us, right? Right? And fair enough, we were given an exemption. We are mates. So I reckon that this was one of those sweeping Trumpian announcements that he does like to make, because good Lord, does this man know how to make a headline. He's there on Air Force One, he's talking to the reporters, he's putting his foot down, pedal to the metal, the world collectively gasps, and then, of course, the details come out later, and I don't think we've got anything to worry about, really.
I think you underestimate the work Joe Hockey put in back in 2017 or whenever it was that Trump announced these tariffs the first time, because Joe Hockey said he did really leverage that idea of we're mates and you should grant special favours to Australia. The difference this time is that the ambassador we have in the United States hasn't sounded off regularly on Twitter about what a moron Trump is. Albanese himself as the Prime Minister
wouldn't do this out of a personal grudge, though.
Donald Trump. And I'm not sure they can pull the mateship card this time when they're on record saying such terrible things about Donald Trump. He's disinclined to listen to them. In addition to that, it's quite unbelievable that America is our most important ally. We've seen Justin Trudeau had the good sense to make a trip to the US to sit down personally with Trump. For Anthony Albanese, who has had one phone call with Donald Trump since his election and is not scheduled to meet personally with him until after the election, which probably means Albanese will never meet personally with Donald Trump, is to be a dereliction of national duty. He should have been in the United States already sitting down with Donald Trump, especially knowing there's bad blood between himself and Kevin Rudd and the US president. He should have been there in person, smoothing the water so this would not be an issue, as it now is.
Okay, I don't disagree with that point. You don't actually think this comes down to bad blood between individuals?
So I don't disagree with that point that Albanese should have already been over there to talk to him. He should have been at the inauguration, as far as I'm concerned. When it comes to Rudd, I mean, the rubber will hit the road here, and if for whatever reason these tariffs are slapped on us and kept on us, then that will probably be the end of Rudd. But it's a strange one with Rudd because he is actually respected by quite a few Republicans for his knowledge on China. So as much as Trump has personal beef with him, he is actually in favour with quite a number of Republicans, including Vivek Ramaswamy and Marco Rubio, etc., who've publicly talked in support of him because of his knowledge on China and the knowledge he's been able to supply to them. But Trump, every time he's slapped a tariff on someone so far, like last week it was Mexico and Canada, he did it because he wanted something in return. And so they then come to the table with something in return, and all of a sudden the tariff is gone. So even if it's not just simply a matter of, well, we're mates, therefore it won't apply to us, surely we'll just throw them a bone and then the tariff will be gone. I can't see any circumstance in which you would possibly put these tariffs upon your allies and then there wouldn't be some kind of out to get around it, because that really would be blowing up ties that don't need to be blown up. If it means we give a concession to the US, then it's a win that Trump has, and that's how he operates. I mean, he's not using tariffs simply to punish other countries for the sake of punishing other countries.
It's an arm-twisting exercise.
He's been using tariffs to get something out of them. So if it means he gets something out of a whole bunch of countries now, say, well, hang on, we don't want this to happen, then he's won. He's got something for the United States and also continued with the imports into the US. I don't see what the problem is.
It may well be a good point, but this is a big test for Albanese. Could you imagine if he's not successful in removing these tariffs, what that would say about his leadership and his standing with our ally? And of course, Anthony Albanese was very quick off the mark when China started blocking trade with Australia when Scott Morrison was the Prime Minister. And Albanese made that famous quote, it's on the front page of tomorrow's Australian, there should be someone in the government, the Liberal government at the time, that could pick up the phone, but there's nobody. And you just wonder who in this government has the ability to pick up the phone and talk to Donald Trump without having to grovel.
I'll tell you what, if I was Dutton, I would have picked up the phone and said, mate, can you just make this phone call an absolute burning dumpster fire of a disaster? Then when I get in, we can just pull these tariffs right out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is some sort of electoral ploy, because Trump knows we've got an election coming up. And he knows, should this phone call go well, Albanese will be chest out. I've saved the day. Australian aluminium and steel is in safe hands, ladies and gentlemen. I told Donald Trump where to go. And that will be a massive win for him. So should Trump, for the sake of the exercise, simply say, no, I'm keeping them in place for whatever reasons, and then the Dutton camp be able to say, well, we've saved the day, we've brokered this deal, so what you want is a coalition government and these tariffs will be bye-bye. Friendly countries do that kind of stuff all the time. Is it election interference? Absolutely. But they've done it before and they would do it again.
I just want a recording of the phone call between Albanese and Trump. Was it Andrew Peacock and Jeff Kennett who had a phone call in the 90s on like a party line? I mean, that was the dumbest thing to do, right? Remember, like car phones, and they were on a party line, so anyone else could pick up the phone and listen to your conversation because there was only one line. And it's Kennett and Peacock, who was then leader, I think, of the Liberal Party, who had just been deposed as leader or something, crapping on about John Howard, and someone recorded the phone call and put it out there, and then that was the end of Peacock in the Liberal Party, basically. Let's have a moment like that with Albanese, shall we?